In Singapore, we have a government agency called the People's Association that supports our grassroots communities and social organizations. And in every community, this People Association, they will appoint some citizens who are volunteers as integration and naturalization champions. Today, we have about more than 1,500 such volunteer champions. These champions, what they do is that they will actively reach out to newcomers through house visits to welcome them and to invite them to join community activities to expand their social networks. The champions also organize activities such as welcome tea parties, community learning journeys, sharing sessions about their own cultures, as well as festive celebrations. They also use the social media to promote greater awareness on integration with the community. Another example is another grown-up initiative is something what we call, and it's relatively new, it's called Common Senses for Common Spaces. It's a mouthful, but what this initiative does, this was launched in about February 2008 to promote interfaith dialogue. This Common Senses for Common Spaces series addresses interfaith and intercultural issues, but without focusing on theology and ideology. There are dialogues that allow members of the public the chance to ask about anything on any faith, but in a safe space. So for instance, they can ask questions about what does fasting during Ramadan entail? Or what is the symbolism of incense burning in various different religions? And we hope that through such candid sharing with religious leaders, participants of these Common Senses for Common Spaces dialogues can gain a better understanding of how different faiths are practiced in Singapore. And since its launched last year, this dialogue series has attracted participants from various backgrounds, including professionals, academics, students, and community leaders. My last point is that constructive dialogues, including true interfaith dialogues, are fundamental to forging mutual understanding, respect, and trust. And these are the building blocks of cohesive societies. Cohesive societies make stronger nations, and I think contribute to a more stable international environment. And this is why Singapore, we will be hosting our first major international conference on social cohesion and interfaith harmony later this year. We hope that this international conference will be the platform for us to share our experiences, develop ideas, and make a collective commitment towards greater cohesion in our societies. I think it is only when each and every one of us fully understands the value of peace and harmony and what it means for ourselves, our families, and our society that we will be motivated to ensure that it spreads across our societies and the world at large. We are still finalizing the list of prominent keynote speakers, and the details of this international conference will be announced in the coming months. So watch this space. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. I would like to have the pleasure now of inviting His Excellency Archbishop Ivan Jurkovic, the Apostolic Nuncio and Permanent Observer of the Holy See, to the United Nations Office in Geneva to take the floor. His Eminence.
Thank you. Also, I would like to reiterate the Holy See appreciation for the leadership of Kingdom of Jordan in promoting interreligious dialogue and peaceful coexistence between the faithful in different religions in this prominent and so important see, Geneva. The theme chosen this year, Welcoming the Stranger, is of central importance for the Holy See. Throughout the history, humanity has been characterized by a fragile distinction between them and us, as somebody already said today. The concerns for those who are excluded and marginalized is always at the core of the Holy See diplomatic action. Pope Francis has said that we are living in a time of fear before the vast dimension of globalization. Fears that are often focused on the stranger, on he who is different, poor, as they were the enemies. The first idea that came to my mind when I received the theme of this year Interfaith Dialogue was about all our brothers and sisters who have left their countries seeking for a better life, fleeing from poverty, hunger, conflict, discrimination, persecutions, natural disasters, environmental degradation. The most surprising thing is the number, which is so tremendously and dramatically high. As Pope Francis repeatedly said, we must not be taken aback by the numbers, but rather view them as persons, seeing their faces and listening to their stories, trying to respond as best as we can in their station. In order to respond in a way which is always humane, just and fraternal, we need to avoid a common temptation nowadays to discard whatever proves to be troublesome, which seems to be leading line for many politicians. Let us remember a golden rule of many religions, which says, do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. This rule points us in a clear direction. Let us treat others with the same passion and compassion with which we want to be treated. Let us seek for others the same possibilities which we seek for ourselves. Let us help others to grow as we would like to be helped ourselves. In a word, as we want security, let us give security. If we want life, let us give life. If we want opportunities, let us provide opportunities. The yardstick we use for others will be a yardstick which time will use on us. This is the golden rule that reminds us of our responsibility toward the others at every stage of the development of human society. We know that it's not enough just to open our hearts to the suffering of the others. Welcoming others requires concrete commitments, and we heard so many examples today, many ambassadors who really have very detailed on many actions they take us in their societies with a great commitment and with a great enthusiasm, I would say. We have to take commitments to fight root causes and forced migrations and true understanding of the common good, that is, bearing in mind the needs of all members of the human family and the welfare of everyone. It is in one of his first visits after his election, Pope Francis traveled to Lampedusa, a trip that made a big impression also in Geneva, to remember the thousands who have drowned in the Mediterranean Sea as they tried to reach the shores of Italy from North Africa. Speaking on that occasion, he denounced the globalization of the indifference. In fact, this indifference or even opposition to immigration finds its explanation in an innate fear of the foreigner, a far exacerbated by the war caused by the economic crisis, the unpreparedness for the local communities, and the inadequacy of many measures taken by the emergency atmosphere. In this context of uncertainty, having doubts and fear is fully comprehensible and legitimate. The sin, as Pope Francis said, is to allow these fears to determine our responses, to limit our choices, to compromise respect and generosity, to feed hostility and rejection. The sin is to refuse to encounter the other, to encounter the different, to encounter the neighbor. In a world that is every day more interconnected, but at the same time that faces divisions and crises on a daily basis, it is crucial to stress once more the essential value of solidarity, which should never be replaced with feelings of distrust and rejection. The second idea that came to my mind was the struggles of the religious minorities. The right to religious freedom is a fundamental right which shapes the way we interact socially and personally with our neighbors. The promotion of interreligious dialogue, mutual respect, and mutual understanding becomes fundamental in our interconnected societies. It is concerning that in many regions around the world, a growing attitude of rejection toward religious freedom is emerging, marginalizing and opening the way to persecution of religious minorities. As you know, last week Pope Francis made a historic visit to the United Arab Emirates, aimed at promoting interreligious dialogue. During his visit, he expressed his concern of growing individualism, which is the enemy of fraternity and inclusiveness. Individualism, in his word, leads to the desire to affirm oneself and one's own group above others. True religious piety consists in loving God with all one's heart and our neighbors as ourselves. Religious behavior, therefore, needs continually to be purified from the recurrent temptation to judge others as enemies and adversaries. Each belief system is called to overcome the divide between friends and enemies in order to make up the perspective of heaven, which embraces persons without privilege and discrimination. One of the outcomes of the visit was the document on human fraternity, which sounds so solemnly and hopefully will have a long life, for world peace and living together, which was co-signed by His Holiness Pope and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Ahmad Al-Tayyib. I wish to recall some of the passages of this document which I found particularly inspiring and which emphasize the importance of the role of religions in the construction of world peace. The document says, authentic teachings of religions invite us to remain rooted in the values of peace, to defend the values of mutual understanding, human fraternity, and harmonious coexistence, to re-establish wisdom, justice, and love. Freedom is a right of every person. Each individual enjoys the freedom of belief, thought, expression, and action. The pluralism and the diversity of religions, color, sex, race, and language are willed by God in His wisdom, through which He created human beings. This divine wisdom is the source from which the right to freedom of belief and the freedom to be different derives. Therefore, the fact that people are forced to adhere to a certain religion or culture must be rejected as the imposition of a cultural way of life that others do not accept. And this is the case also in our environment. Finally, please allow me to offer a few thoughts on the importance of the global solidarity with and within the human family. Before the challenges of our contemporary reality, the only reasonable response is of fraternity and mercy. It is therefore important to foster dialogue, a culture of tolerance and acceptance of others on all levels. Pope has encouraged in several occasions the international community to pursue so-called, as he quotes, globalization of solidarity and globalization of the spirit, by building bridges, keeping dialogue open, and favoring encounter, in line with overarching objective of leaving no one behind. The centrality of the person in its individual dignity and collective solidarity must be put at the center of every discussion and must be preserved and mainstreamed in all economic and political decisions. I would like to conclude by quoting some other inspiring words. Solidarity is not a feeling and vague compassion of shallow and distress at the misfortunes of many people, both near and far. On the contrary, solidarity is a firm and preserving determination to commit oneself to the common good. That is to say, to the good of all and each individual, because we are all really responsible for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Your Eminence. Now allow me to invite His Excellency Ambassador Michel Vetey, Ambassador of the Sovereign Order of Malta to monitor and combat human trafficking, and Deputy Permanent Observer of the Order of Malta to the United Nations in Geneva to take the floor. Excellency.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Allow me to deal with 3 points. One, the first, why the Order of Malta welcomes the stranger. The second, activities of the Order in support of asylum seekers, refugees and migrants. And third, concrete examples of local integration of refugees by the Order of Malta. So first, I would like to thank UNITAR, in particular you, Alex Maria, and Her Excellency Ambassador Mahali, permanent representative of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan in Geneva, for inviting again the permanent mission of the Order of Malta to participate in today's Geneva Interfaith Dialogue on solidarity and welcoming the stranger. So, first, a few words about the Order of Malta, vocation and its unique position in today's international humanitarian diplomacy and action. An order of the Catholic Church, the Sovereign Order of Malta is a 900-year-old institution.